Thank you. Welcome. Ideas. A lot of what we've been talking about, and a lot of people that come to this organization for training and development, whether it's on the hard technical side or that word that a lot of people hate to use, but it is the common vernacular of soft skill development, it's all about how do you improve people's performance. We've heard a lot about performance, in fact, today. A lot of the books I've written over the years and research I've done on performance, one of the things I've recognized is whether you're studying a large firm, a large corporation, whether you're studying a celebrity personality, or just a person next to you you know back home, anyone who is successful, however you would measure and put the matrix out to come up with what your definition of success is, anyone who is successful is doing very specific things. And one of the things I've recognized working the last 20 years with some of those marquee businesses, is that there's the DNA of success. And you can look at the hard technical skills, you can look at soft skills in lots of different directions. But when it comes down to what we're really trying to focus on, it really is success, all the ways you measure it today. So one of the ideas that I've put out many years ago is a concept called the X factor. And this really, I've started to recognize from my clients, is how I look at anything I'm going to present. So whether we're looking at generational leadership, whether we're looking at cultural changes, whether we're looking at how you give people fundamental knowledge of management and leadership, whether we're talking about interpersonal skills, communication skills, conflict, succession planning, any of those topics we want to come and talk about really are born out of this concept right here. So let me try to set the stage for what the X factor is. It may give all of us a completely different way of looking at how we engage our clients, how we position our products, our deliverables, our distribution channels. A client that comes to us with a request for a new whatever it is that they want. They want us to do a new job, a new research, a new audit. How do we look at that X factor? This also is a model that may dramatically change how you even engage in conversations with people in your personal life. As a business psychologist, what I've recognized is that X represents, in essence, the word success. So however you measure the word success is what X is all about. But let me ask you to participate. And so if you're watching us online in a virtual world, then say some numbers out loud. But let me ask some questions about the X factor so we all really get the point. And then we can use it to base anything we're wanting to talk about tomorrow off of. If we were to look at X as success, and each one of you were to write down your own definition of success, we would probably have a lot of different answers. People may define success as health or happiness or material possessions or money or whatever. That whatever is what gets us into debates with people. When your whatever is different than their whatever. So I don't even want to get into that conversation of what your definition of success is, so let's play with the universal. If we were to look at athletics, that's one that people tend to always want to play as examples in business conversation, social conversation. If you were to go on to any high school today, and on that campus, of 100% of the kids on that campus, if we were to say, of 100% of the kids on a campus, and X we're going to measure as athletics, how many of them would be good enough to make the high school varsity team? Now, a lot of you are math, finance, accounting sorts of people, so this is a fun little drill. So the more linear you are, you're going to want to do some homework assignments on this, which means you're taking this way too seriously. So just off the top of your head, from your gut, if you were to say if 100% of the kids on any high school campus, X% would be good enough to make the varsity team, what number comes to mind? 5%. 5? 15. 15? Okay, so let's go with 15 at the high, 5 at the low, and without even getting into debate with your numbers, let's see if we all might agree on a trend. And that is, of 100% of the people that can do the endeavor, whether it's 5 or 10 or 15% that would be successful, would we agree it's a small percentage that would excel at the X factor? Fair enough? This is huge. Trust me, most CEOs don't get this right here. Most couples don't get this as they get into a fight right here. I'm saving some of you about $1,000 in therapy right now. And if you're not catching it, let's go a little further. So now, if 100% of high school varsity athletes, X% of them would be good enough to get a scholarship and go play at the collegiate level. What percentage would you say migrates? 2%. So I have 2%. Any other numbers? 6%. So whether we go with 6 at our high or the pendulum swings to 2, would you agree that the more proficient we expect someone to be at X, the population pool gets smaller and smaller? True or false? Final obvious question. Of 100% then of college varsity athletes, X% would be good enough to go play it at the pro level. What percent migrates?
0.5%.
Now I need an accountant, evidently, because it's beyond my scope. Here's the key point we're talking about. We spend all day, every day, a lot of us talking about our staff, our CPA, a senior partner, a CEO, an executive, and we're tasking them to go do something, but we're assuming that they're that 0.00% that knows how to get it done. Then we get stressed when they fail. Example, we elect someone to political office. This is not a Republican or Democrat statement, just an observation, so play along. We elect someone to office. Is it fair to expect them to be brilliant on every topic? True or false? No, but we certainly get upset when they don't have a clue. True or false? So here's the numbers. Now, I'm also playing a little bit with some of these markers, so let's just play this a little bit further. I was working with a group of linear people, accountants, let's just make that one up. And I used red ink, and I drew a plus sign on a flip chart a couple of years ago, and I didn't really pay much attention. Then I used green ink to draw a negative sign. You know, I'm kind of an extrovert, so it doesn't bother me. And then I realized there was like a look of horror on their face. Then it dawned on me what had happened, and so I just had to play a little bit longer. See, how do you look at things differently? Sometimes you are so fixated at one way of seeing things, you don't see all the other ways to be successful. So that little bit of tirade was on purpose to see if you remember the math to your own little game. So if 100% of the people that can do X, using the numbers we just heard in this room, X% will always excel. What was the greatest number we just heard? 15%. So mathematically, what's the balance? 85. Again, I need an accountant in the room, so 85%. So if we look at this model using your own math, whatever it is you try to do in life, 15% of the time you'll be successful. 85% of the time you will. And now you know phonetically where that word comes from. Some of you will get this a little bit later. This is part of the good stuff. There's no case, so no one can be offended, but it's powerful. So if you want to be successful, newsflash, successful people do not do the things they suck at. For 18 years, I published a magazine called Performance. Every quarter, we go to very high-impact personalities and get them to write for us, for you, our readers, articles on success. So whether it's Tiger Woods or Lance Armstrong or Shaun White, whether it's Sir Tony Blair or President Clinton or President Bush, or whether it's Alanis Morissette, or whether it is just the names of phenomenal people that have written for us, every single one of them in 500 words captures what leads to their success, and the things they pick on are not those things right there. So if we want to attain a higher level of success, our job, and it's the new world economy we live in, whether it's virtual employees, outsourced employees, generational leadership, whether it's looking at different deliverables, partnerships, collaborations, we have to start to recognize our success is dependent upon us living in this space, which means we have to start shedding lots of old ways of doing things. A great book I teach business people they need to go buy is a book by Louis Gerstner. I like reading books about people that are alive versus dead people, because if they're dead, you can't prove anything. If they're alive, you can see them still doing it in real time. And the reason Louis Gerstner should be of interest to anyone who speaks to business people or teaches business is he's the only person still alive that's been the CEO of 4 different Fortune 100 corporations, each of which, when he arrived, was on the brink of bankruptcy, each one he left, and even 10 years after he left, each one of them, they were highly profitable. How do we look at success? So if I take this model, what my research has shown me that leads to greater levels of success in, and I handed each one of you a little wallet card, and on that wallet card there's a diagram at the top. That circle is what all of us are about in business. And we've heard some great programs and some great research come to us in recent years that we've all been in the audience to. But we spend all this time up here at the top trying to get people to take ownership. And the problem is, the more that we spend trying to get someone to take ownership, you completely miss the target. If we want to get people to take ownership, and we talked about, in essence, doing the job, empowering them, not having to worry about holding their hand, then we have to realize that we have victory over here. That takes us down here to motivation. That takes us up here to, in essence, passion. And then that takes us back to ownership. Working with IBM, Pfizer Pharmaceutical, Coca-Cola, General Motors, working with all those businesses over the past 15 years, they spend tons of time in each one of those bubbles. But what they miss is where we should start. See, we all think this is the important thing, just like your child. We want them to do something wrong. But if you back up, and what I realized from doing reverse analysis, and we hear a lot about it right here, when you get to do the things you love to do, just think about this. When you get to do the things you love to do, does that create or take away passion? And when you get to associate with the people you love to hang around, does that create or take away passion? And when you're passionate about things, you look for those opportunities to have more ownership. So we can spend time trying to get people to become passionate, but I did some reverse analysis and went back here. We spend tons of times in organizations trying to motivate people, incentives, 401ks, freedom, flex schedules, etc. And while that's important, that's not even important, because guess what? If you do what you love to do, it motivates you. When you get to hang around people you love to hang around, it motivates you, which feeds passion, which causes ownership. So I backed up further, and I realized this is step 1 to success. Everything we teach, everything we create in business practices and models has to be about victory. And if you're not a parent, get with someone who is a parent. You'll see this model real quickly. But through the parent's eyes, you can see how to build a winning team much better, how to build your practice much more efficiently. All the models you will or will not embrace, what you need to do and what you need to let go of. But whenever you know what a child's good at doing something because you've taught them, trained them, educated them, Or you've created an environment, you've engineered, let's use some business language, you've engineered an environment conducive for that child to do things they're good at doing. Whenever a child is successful at doing something or victorious, where's your self-esteem go, up or down? And think about it. When a child's self-esteem goes up, where's their motivation go? Where's their passion go? Where's their commitment go? And they're addicted to having another one of those successes. So if we want to create more empowered, successful organizations, all of these things are important. Giving someone the hard technical skills to do their job, or giving them the soft skills, that's the HR world's language. It's what Society of HR Management calls it, although I agree with a lot of my colleagues, I don't like the labeling. But if we give people what they need here, they'll do this, they'll live there, they'll accomplish that, and then they're looking for more work. Our jobs as educators, as business owners, as in essence entrepreneurs, is to recognize we have to find a way to start setting up successful teams. When people talk about good to great, that's no secret to an entrepreneur. Built to last, that's no secret to an entrepreneur. But a lot of times people write these books and everyone gets excited. It's because they have forgotten where to live. This is what success is. Athletes are successful, entrepreneurs are successful. Don't do the things that they suck at. Real simple. Thank you.